So we'll get started. And of course, anyone that joins late, this is all recorded and you will be able to obtain the mayor's message and the Q&A following the event. So again, a big thank you, Mayor, for always actively and engagingly participating and addressing our membership and our community. I have a couple of questions that I'll start us off with, but again, I welcome everyone to please feel free to post a question and we'll try and get through as many as possible. To start, I'm thinking let's talk about a couple of things regarding looking back. So at last year's State of the City, you outlined 4 key priorities for this year. Priorities, obviously, that have shifted due to the unforeseen pandemic. So I'm curious to hear about the state of those 4 pillars with everything, in light of everything. So to start, you had a comment about police services, a higher level of staffing to ensure the safety of our city. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Yes, so the funding that was increased for policing for 2020, the year 2020, the entire complement of employees and staff, which was around 30, was fully accomplished in 2020. Of course, the hiring was obviously staggered throughout the entire year, so it wasn't like on January 1st that all 30 were hired. So one of the things that I know the chief has been really great at, and the board, is about the accountability part of seeing the impacts, of course, of those hirings. And so I think what you're going to see is the real impact probably will come probably next year, because the full complement took all of 2020 to actually hire on. So then you need a full year to actually see it work, and then those results come out. I was really pleased about the downtown unit that was created, and for the first time in, I believe it's 7 years, the crime rate, overall crime rate, has actually gone down in the city of Guelph. And so, yeah, you're really, really pleased with the leadership of the chief, the deputy, the leadership team, and the board over the last year. And really, it was something that I heard and many other candidates heard at the doors in the election a couple of years ago, which was really, the safety and security of the city. And that doesn't mean it always comes from enforcement, from policing, but that is an aspect of it. And so it was nice to see that complement happen. And now we look forward to those impacts in the future years.
Great. So the second of 4 pillars you'd mentioned last year was related to the community plan and being future ready, focusing on sustainability, a healthy transit system, 2-way all-day go. What are your thoughts on where we're at with that and what the implications of the pandemic have meant for that update?
Yeah, so we did finally approve in this past year, I think it was the fall, the strategic plan for the city of Guelph. And of course, under that sustainability pillar, obviously transportation is a huge piece of that. When it comes to transit, or any public transit, it's been hit the hardest. I mentioned that in the State of the City about especially loss of revenue. However, even though it has been hit hard, I will compliment our staff, our route review staff, and the leadership under transit. They are, even though the ridership might be down due to COVID impacts, it doesn't mean that that behind the scenes work of trying to figure out how to best have transit move forward in the city is not happening. It certainly is. Council takes it very seriously as well. When it comes to GO service, of course, that has also been impacted as well. And so I will say, I will definitely I will praise where praise is due, and I will critique when critique is due. But praise is due for Metrolinx and really the MTO in regards to GO. They are very committed to all day 2-way go. And even though the pandemic has hit them hard on the ridership side, they are still on the capital side and in infrastructure and investment side making those investments. And so that's really good that they are committed to still doing that, as bringing it to Guelph as soon as possible. But remember too, I think just before the pandemic hit, from a transportation local issue, the federal government, the provincial government, and the city had that announcement with multi millions of dollars for transportation, turning our buses into EV and EV systems throughout the city, and that will help with the sustainability, environmental sustainability part as well. The only part that I did mention at the end of my speech last year was I was hoping that we could look to implement free transit for youth in the city. And actually, I had my motion already, like it was already written, and it was actually coming to the April committee of the whole meeting at council, and then that meeting got canceled because of COVID. And then with all the impacts, it's just something that it's still on. It's still my desire to see that through. And in fact, I could even say it would be interesting to expand it maybe to seniors as well. But it just has to be put on the back burner because of the impacts of transit, because of COVID right now. And that's just the right thing to do. As much as you want to do a whole bunch of things, you sometimes have to park some things right now to focus on the things at hand.
Great, thanks. So to not take up too much airtime, let me go to a couple of the folks who've, courageously turned on their videos. Cindy, nice to see you. Curious if you had a question for the mayor.
I'm just trying to figure out how to work this platform. No, I think you're doing a great job. Thank you very much for all your support. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Cindy, and all of your hard work with the Integrated Youth Services Network.
I was just going to say that, I mentioned, impacts of COVID on transit, but there's still work behind the scenes that's happening, right? And that encapsulates Cindy and the whole crew there that's so focused on the youth mental health centers. And thank you for your leadership in the city, Cindy, and to everyone involved in that too. So even though there's impacts going on, there's still the fundraising and the commitments and all that kind of stuff that's happening. And so thank you for your leadership too.
A big shout out to many of our board members who are present for today's event. Mark's on the screen with us. Mark, did you happen to have a question for the mayor? Oh, you're muted, Mark. Comment.
I actually didn't. I shouldn't be on the screen. I apologize.
No problem. It's nice to see you. Thanks for all your work. Sandy, you've asked a question in the chat. Would you like to pose it live?
Sure, I can do that. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Hi, Sandy. Thank you for all your work with Ward 1, for helping me with the closed captioning of the video. That was something that I've actually been pushed on a little bit to make sure from an accessibility point of view that the things that are happening are easy for everybody to stay in touch. And so when you offered help with that, I really appreciated it. So thanks for asking a question to allow me to thank you publicly.
That's great. Well, it's it's great to see that you're doing that, by the way, because I think that it is something that the more tools we have online, the more we need to think about how it's visible and accessible to others. So my question just pertained to the urban design master plan, which is I think at a certain stage of development currently. And I was interested to know, we have this growth management strategy that, at the State of the City last year, I think was referenced. And I'm just trying to reconcile how the urban design master plan fits into the growth management strategy and where there is opportunity for input and consultation.
Sure. For clarity, are you asking specifically about the urban design master plan for the downtown core for Baker Street?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and just the fit with that growth management strategy, like how do those fit together?
For sure. Well, I believe, and I'm sorry, I am doing all this just off the top of my head, so I try my best. I think it's July. Don't totally quote me on it, but I believe that we're going to have the urban, I almost said urban forest management plan. That's also a good thing that happened in 2020. But the urban design is going to be coming for Baker Street to council for approval at that time. There has been a lot of engagement, I know, with the downtown board and with others. And of course, we're going to wait for the community to give input on that as well. Because of the new redesign of Baker Street and kind of, shuffling some pieces on the chessboard, it does require that new urban design. So, the experts are on it. And when I say experts, yes, that means consultants and people that do it for a living, but the citizens are experts too, and they can have to give their input as well. So we're looking forward to that. Now, in how it intersects with the overall growth plans of the city, I would say in a little bit, for me, it's a little bit separate, only because really designing is more about look and feel and the vibe of how it's going to interact within that area. The only kind of real intersection I could see is density, from especially on Baker Street. What how the tower is going to be, what's the density of growth of people living there, jobs and people per hectare on that site. So that, of course, would have to be taken into consideration when it comes to the growth plans, especially intersecting still with the secondary plan of the entire downtown as we grow as a city to 200,000 people by 2051. We're going to have a lot of people living in the downtown core, which we want. Yeah, how it looks and feels and intersects and interacts with the built environment downtown, but with the new environment that's coming downtown, is going to be really, really important.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Great question, Sandy. I see our MP Longfield on. Lloyd, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, thanks, Shakiba, and thanks for the event. Great technology. Mine builds on Sandy's question, and Places to Grow had us taking on a lot more people into Guelph, which is great for business, lots of customers coming. But we are also looking at housing crunch and apartment blocks and the whole range of housing that we need to keep up. Now that we have a lot more people from Toronto and elsewhere moving to Guelph, what's the city's plan to try and keep up with the people that are moving here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's that's on my mind almost every day. So staff are doing a formal engagement right now with the community about the growth of Guelph. And again, it does touch a little bit, you're right, Lloyd, on what Sandy said on the intersection of density on built form, whether it be apartments or single detached homes or townhomes and such like that. So to accommodate by law under the Places to Grow Act, the amount of growth we have to have, what type of residential units are going to be peppered across the entire city. That includes in the built up area, the existing stock for infill or intensification, but it also includes, especially if I think like the Clare Mulpey green space area that will then be, I should not say green space, green fields area. And then also, I think of the old Yorklands where the old jail site is, the Guelph Innovation District. That will also be a huge opportunity as well. As we cast that vision out to 2050, our official plan, which has to be reviewed every 5 years, is also starting this year to be in place for next year as well. So lots of engagement opportunities on that. I am really concerned about the drive to you qualify from a mortgage perspective. People from the GTA area, they can't afford there, so they start driving, Mississauga, Milton, Guelph, now they can start affording a home here. But then there's a push I'm finding from our existing citizens that are having difficult staying in Guelph, finding a place to live that they want. I will be blunt, finding a detached home, because that's the dream of many. And I am seeing some of my own friends, they're going to, and there's nothing wrong with this, but they're going to Fergus, Mount Forest, Arthur, Listowel, because they're willing to do the 45-minute drive to find the place where they are at. We really need to be careful about that issue. And I think it does have a lot to play with supply and demand, and the speed that we can try to get things online for new developments to happen in the city of Guelph. And personally, I would love to see things happening at a quicker speed. At the same time, we have to be very careful, because the infrastructure and servicing from the taxpayer that costs money to provide for some of those developments also has to be balanced carefully too.
Thanks, Sandy, and to you, Lloyd, for those questions. I should say that we have a great video series called In Conversation, where we're having conversations about all sorts of upcoming future thinking issues and policies. And I just finished recording one with the team at the city, GM John Regan in ECDev and GM Krista Waukee in planning. They were gracious enough to give me some of their time where I could ask some of those questions about growth and economic development and that intersection. So that video will be released in the coming few days. So look out for some more detailed responses to those exact questions there as well. Great. Melanie, to you. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for
Hi, Melanie.
Hi. So I appreciated when you were delivering your address and highlighting some of the key ways that the university has been contributing to this broad global issue that we're all experiencing right now. But and also to the local impacts, right? The contributions that the university is making, and we've always felt, being neighbors within this community, we have a responsibility to the community. And so my question to you is, speaking specifically on behalf of the Lang Business School, as well as our John F. Wood Center, our Innovation Entrepreneurship Center, what would you say would be some opportunities or ways in which that we can continue to contribute to the work that the city is doing and that others that you're aware of? How would you say that we can be, leaning into that type of work? Would love to hear your thoughts on where we could be offering some support and some insight.
Sure. Wow. Okay. I'll try to be as quick as I can. First of all, one of the things that I remember, so I hope this is okay to say this, but I was called before Charlotte was picked, the new president of the U of G, asking my opinion on what should a new leader at the U of G be like? What kind of attributes and what kind of things should they focus on? And one of the things I mentioned was exactly the Lang School of Business. And because I'm really finding, and I'm hearing this outside of the community, by the way, so you should be very happy, that the University of Guelph has really become a hub for entrepreneurs, business, and not so much, the old agricultural feel or the veterinarian kind of school feel. It is really becoming sought after from the business entrepreneurial side. So when Charlotte became the president, it was a perfect match. And we've talked about this a little bit, how you're really going to elevate what the Lang School of Business and others are doing from the business side of things. And so I've really seen, I guess, that brand of the University of Guelph really risen in the last couple of years, which is really healthy for the city. And so I think, I guess what I would say is there is the Civic Lab that has been in existence for, I would say, maybe 6 or 7 years, where there's collaboration between the University of Guelph and the city. It'd be really great to see through the School of Business or through other avenues to the University of Guelph to maybe reach out and to the chamber or to others where there's actually private sector businesses, not just from institution to institution, but where there's the institution of the University of Guelph being able to intersect with private sector businesses to also lend their expertise on that. I would also say, if I can take this for 1 second, it should be the other way around too. So any private businesses or whatever that are looking for like co-op opportunities or other things where they can intersect with the School of Business there, they should really be taking advantage of that. We have a lot of great students there that are very gung-ho about getting to work and looking to get in those types of business, economic, entrepreneurial type of fields. And so the reverse is also important as well.
That's great, Cam. Thanks so much. And just know that as your work continues, if there is an opportunity where our business school can be supportive of your efforts, do reach out and let us know. For sure. Yep.
Thanks, Melanie. And of course, we work closely together and will continue to do so. And if anyone who's participating and listening isn't sure who or how best to connect with students on campus, if they want to reach out to the chamber, we can make sure we help assist and direct folks to the right place and actually help secure funding if you're looking to do that as well.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
Thanks.
Great.
So I'm going to ask a couple more of my own questions, and then we'll continue
Sure.
with the Q&A coming from others.
Yeah.
So, I know I wouldn't be doing our community justice if we didn't acknowledge the impact the pandemic has had and continues to have on our community, for neighborhoods and families, and of course for businesses and those in our network. Everyone I've spoken to knows all sorts of processes, opportunities, operations will forevermore look different. So I'm curious, Mayor, how do you suspect Council's new normal will look? Are there any considerations about evolving and elevating how decisions are made around the horseshoe?
Well, I think from a technical point of view, one of the things when the pandemic hit in the first wave, the provincial, because all municipalities are mandated by the province, so really a lot of the rules are from them. So how we even govern and have our council meetings all comes from them. And so one of the things that they did was they amended the acts and legislation to allow for what we're doing right now, virtual discussions, virtual decision making as well. And through that, they received, I was at that time, I was sitting on the Association of Municipalities of Ontario board, and all the mayors, the association, they realized very quickly the benefits to the technology. And so now that legislation has been amended going forward, that we can actually have virtual meetings. We can do it as a hybrid style after COVID if necessary, or if somebody is away, like let's say someone's away on a trip, or someone is away for work, but they can still, as a counselor, they can still enter into the meeting. They will be able to do that. And also they're looking at proxy voting as well, and all that will be discussed at council to decide how we intersect and agree or not agree to any of those types of options. I will say, though, from the citizen side, the engagement and comments that I've heard have been through the roof. I mean, like, phenomenal. People have been able to engage, and I'm hearing this across from all mayors. People have been able to engage way better in this type of a format that I didn't think we knew before. People maybe don't want to all drive down to City Hall, get a parking spot, come into a Chambers, where I am right now, and sit there and wait. Now they can be at work, they can be at home, and they know exactly when they can call in and still have that engagement, give their peace of mind, give their opinion on whatever, and they give their opinion and they hang up. And so that has been, from an accessibility point of view, it's also been a big help to people to be able to engage. So I actually think we might see an increase of engagement using technology because of the impacts of COVID, both prior to decision making and as the decisions are being made in the council chambers.
Excellent, thank you. I want to ask a question from my colleague at Innovation Guelph, but first I do want to give a shout out to Carrie, who in the chat on behalf of the Delta says, and I certainly agree, misses getting together in person like we always do. Mayor, any comments about how we will continue to encourage tourism to the city?
Yeah, the patios and the dining district in the downtown. So yeah, I just encouraging it. I believe personally that tourism really helps when you have a reason, an experience to travel to experience. It has to be destinational. And so that is where the focus of our own tourism department is on. I know it's the focus of the Downtown Guelph Business Association and others that are involved with those types of things. I also think that through the pandemic, the city council just in December, I think I have this right. I think it was about $300,000 for this year was dedicated to sort of more of a tourism opportunity for people to apply for. Not the entire $300,000. There's limits to that, but you can apply for that. So what's happening is I'm finding that instead of tourism being left with departments or larger stakeholders, I'm finding now that individual businesses are looking at ways they themselves can tap into that almost tourism culture to create the experience and the reason why people want to come for a destinational type of visit. So I hope that COVID gets over very quickly and as quickly as possible, because we really do have things that we can invest in, and people can choose to think outside the box to draw people to our city. I'm being a little bit maybe biased, but especially our downtown core. Like, it's so beautiful, and it is really a sought after place. The more beautiful and inviting we make the downtown core, I think the more people will come for events that can happen down there. Like my roller skating idea after COVID. I don't know if anyone saw that. I think we should shut down Market Square and have big 80s or 70s disco roller skating night. I think that would be a big draw, a big tourism event.
Absolutely. It's a unique spot that really, the heart of our city for sure. And, I just want to say to Alex Chapman, who asked a great question about the downtown dining district, wondering how it compares to other communities in Ontario. And he was wondering about implementation and how it was done. I know, Mayor, that there will be a report to council, so we don't need to necessarily spend too much time answering that. But did you want to say anything to that?
Yeah, actually, I do know that report, I think I said in my speech that it's coming in a little while. It's coming March the 1st, I believe it's coming. So very soon. Well, you know what? I think it's government, everyone always says government could go faster. And I agree, but so does government, really. Like the people, the leadership here, the executive team and staff, they want things to go faster too. And so they're very willing to do that. We did turn on a dime to try to make the patios and dining district and that whole thing happen really quickly. Definitely lessons learned, because it happened so quickly. I will say that I have seen other communities that have been doing it even pre-COVID that have probably some streamlined efficiencies and ways of getting things done that we could learn from. But it's not just a Guelph thing. I mean, there was tons of communities across Ontario that did patios and these dining district types of things for the first time ever. So, a little bit of grace has to be given because it was our first time sticking our toe in the water. But I do know that there is everyone wants to get those efficiencies and those things done as quickly as possible, especially me.
Great, thank you. So yes, Alex, there will be more information about those specific questions you posed in that report to council in March. So looping back to a great question posed from Anne at Innovation Guelph, and relevant to all business support organizations and our community in the area. Where do you see the next business growth opportunities for our city?
Well, I would say that it will, for me, I would love to see more of green technology, clean tech, those types of things I believe are sustainable and they're good paying. And so, and we're already known for that. There's a lot of established businesses in the city in that arena. And so being able to kind of leap off of those successes that we have here, real innovative industry, I think is something that is really required as well. And the last thing I would say, these are just kind of top three off the top of my head, is just really the startup tech entrepreneur side of things. I am seeing our downtown, as we think about growth of people, we have to think about growth of businesses in the downtown core. I'm seeing the second and third story places in the downtown being rented by these little startup companies, software companies. Toronto's too expensive. Waterloo might be a little too far away, but we're close enough. And so Guelph sits pretty right in the middle to enable people to experience that here. And so I would say those are sort of the three things. I think we have to, as we think about growth and transportation, and we're casting that vision for 30, 40, 50 years down the road, we have to think in the same manner when it comes to jobs. And we have to look for the long term to try to attract those types of industry to our city, because they have, I want them to be good paying and long term. Yeah, I think that those are really important. I don't think anyone would disagree with what I'm saying on that.
For sure. And, on behalf of the chamber and, our partners in the ecosystem, I would also want to say, do consider engaging and partnering with all of our members, clients, business partners. We certainly all want to get engaged in not only rebuilding and thriving as an ecosystem moving forward, but also to help get us through the pandemic, the vaccine rollout and beyond. I know that we're all partners in this work together, so do not hesitate, council, city, and all other leaders to reach out, because there's some really great resources, innovators and entrepreneurs that are willing to lend a hand and, get us through the pandemic that we can't ignore, right? And to that, Bud Arnold was asking what your role is in the regional public health guidance and orders of COVID-19.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? Bud was asking what, sorry?
Just what your role is as it relates to the public health guidance.
I have no role when it comes to public health guidance. They are separate. However, we do have what's called an EOC, an Emergency Operations Committee group that meets at a minimum twice a week. And that group includes myself and other leaders that are dealing with COVID impacts twice a week, and that includes public health is on that table. They are the ones that are in charge, especially when it comes to really the oversight of the vaccination rollout that will happen. From a city perspective, I have said this for several months now, and I'm happy to say it publicly again. The city will do whatever it has to do to help with anything to do with the health and safety and the well-being and vaccination rollouts in regards to anything to do with COVID. So just everyone needs to know that we just call, we'll do it. And but it is all happening under the leadership of Dr. Mercer. Actually, I need to take 15 seconds. I didn't mention this, and now that I'm thinking about it, I apologize. Dr. Mercer, Chris Beveridge, Danny Williams, all those that I've been in contact with in the leadership at Public Health, a huge thank you to you for always looking out for the safety and health and well-being of our city. And they deserve a big round of applause, a virtual round of applause for what they're doing. And so thank you to them as well.
Great, thank you. So it's that time, unfortunately, the time to wrap up. I want to thank you, Mayor, for your participation and engagement and insight, speaking with our members and making yourself available in an ongoing fashion. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Shakiba. And, I just, if you don't mind, I do want to just take another 30 seconds. I feel like I'm doing this at the end, but I just saw this on my desk, and if you don't mind, I want to end on our territorial acknowledgement. I don't know if did I miss that at the beginning? I know I did, but maybe it was done prior to. Was it done prior to when I came on now, or no?
We hadn't, Mayor, no, but please.
Do you mind if I quickly, I think it's important, to just quickly do that. So as we were gathered here today, we are reminded that Guelph is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history, home to many First Nations, Inuit and Métis people today. And as a city, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we both live and work. And so today we acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation of the Anishinaabe peoples, on whose traditional territory we are meeting. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me do that there. And I apologize that I should have done that off the top.
No problem. Thanks so much for taking a minute to do that. I want to thank all of our sponsors for their continued support, providing our network with the opportunity to have this engagement with the Mayor. Thank you to everyone who participated and tuned in live today. Please do spend the remaining few minutes connecting with our Expo booth partners, reach out to other attendees and network one-on-one. Have a great day, stay well, and do be in touch with the Chamber team. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Shakiba. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.